Well, hi there, it's Tiffany, and today I'm going to show you how to construct these super beginner-friendly, sort of knit-looking mittens, and I promise you they are crocheted using half double crochet. So I don't know about you, but my girls are always, yeah, Mom, make us something, but make it have a knitted look. And so this is just really plain and simple. So the yarn that I'm using to make these mittens with is Patons Norse, and it is from yarnspirations.com. We are Stitch ambassadors for Yarnspirations, and so they sent us this yarn to try out, and I really, really loved developing this simple knit look mitten. The purple color is called Tawny Coral, but I also have a pair that I'm making, and this color is called Cream. Now I was able to make a set of mittens and a twist headband out of this entire ball of yarn, 211 yards. And I had just a little bit left over, and I made it just for average sized head. Here is the headband that I made as well. So headband and a pair of mittens, all in just one ball. And I did use a K-sized hook. K is 6.5 millimeters. Okay, let's get started and I'll show you the stitch that I used. Okay, so for the mittens, you are going to chain 12 inches. And for me, that turned out to be 38 chains. So I'm just going to do a little sample here. So after you chain your 38 chains, I'm just pretend that's 38, work into the second chain from the hook with a half double crochet. And throughout this whole pattern, we're only going to be chaining one and turning, just so the bottom and top of our mitten is just really doesn't have any extra turning chains. So just work one half double crochet into each chain. And if you are counting, that would be 37 stitches. But now I know a lot of you might choose different yarn, and so just chain to, like I said, the 12 inches. And here's the pattern. Chain one, turn your work. Now we'll just be alternating two types of half double crochet. The first type is working into the back loop. So this row all works into the back loop. So you'll notice that you have little V's that face you, little V's on the top. Insert your hook on the one the furthest away from you. That's the back loop. We're essentially going to try and get all of these little V's on the same side of our work. So I'll show you what we do in the next row. Okay, so here's that first row of back loop double crochet, and you can kind of see the little V's that are facing us. Chain one, turn our work, and now we want these top V's to kind of go to the other side of our work. So we will work into the bottom front loop. So the two V's that face you, bring your hook up underneath just one, that bottom one, and work half double crochet. And that sort of pushes those V's to the other side of your work. And that's how we're making kind of a knitted look across one side of our work. Okay, and for the mittens, you'll repeat that for 16 rows or until you get about 8 inches. So the mittens are 12 inches by 8 inches. And into this last half double crochet, if you can't find that bottom loop, just work under both loops, it'll be fine. Chain 1, turn your work. You can see the V's forming, so when they face you, you know that that's a row where we want to keep the V's facing you, so work back loop half double crochet. All right, so here is my finished, and I'll measure it here for you so you can see. Here we go. Here's about 8 inches across, maybe a little bit shy. And you could go even more if you have much larger, or if you're making it for a man, maybe. And then the length is just about 12 inches there. And again, you could even make that longer, but then you would definitely need to buy more yarn. This is a size just for, you know, to try and get this set out of one ball of yarn. Okay, so what I'm going to have you do is that we simply fold this in half. And we're going to use some stitch markers to mark where we want this thumb space to be. Okay, so here's some measurements for you. Of course, you can just measure against your own hand, but I've gone down about 4 inches and placed a mark. My thumb opening is just shy of 3 inches. And then, of course, then we have the rest. So what I like to do is go ahead and test my spot, make sure it's going to be okay before I sew. And that seems to give my thumb just enough, because we have to go back and add on. Okay, we're going to be tightening up the top, sewing down to the stitch marker, skipping, and actually I have a long tail, and we'll sew up from the bottom to this stitch marker, and then we'll go around and add the thumb. Okay, so place those 2 stitch markers about like that. Okay, so again, I have a really long tail. I tied off with a really long tail because we need to sew down to the stitch marker, back up, and then we'll gather this in for the top of the mitten. Okay, so how I sew this together is simply by just inserting my hook underneath both loops there. Just kind of do this as neatly as possible. This yarn does a really good job of sticking to itself. So there we go. I got that started. So I just like to come in underneath the V's and just sew in a circular motion all the way down. Now here we are at the top, so we'll just go in and out. Pull that tight and go around one more time to kind of really bring that in. And then I like to just kind of poke it down through. Make sure it gets down in there. Turn it inside out. Maybe go around the inside a couple more times to merely make sure it's secure. Okay. So I'll cut that. There we go. Okay, so that's the top half of our mitten. Double check and make sure you're still going to be happy that it gives you enough room in the top for your fingers. And then you can kind of adjust your stitch markers if you need to. But looks good to me so far. I think I'll go ahead and sew up to the bottom one. Okay, so for now I'm going to sew starting at the bottom. And if I didn't mention that before, definitely start with a long sewing tail, or leave a long tail when you make your base chain. I'll just kind of take a little break right there, stop for a second. Okay, so grab your hook, grab the remaining yarn that you had, and what we're going to do is, and it will be the same, these mittens are reversible, so go ahead and remove this stitch marker. And you want to kind of pull up a loop that is through the both, just like that. You want to insert your hook through both layers, and then I'm just going to pull up a loop so it's kind of in the center. Okay, ignore that tail. Make a half double crochet right there in that spot. Now we'll just turn and we are going to work. You can see the stitches right there. Try to work into the bottom loop of each one, going down towards the next stitch marker. I've made 6. I'm hoping to make 9. 7, 8, perfect, and 9 on this side. Now this stitch marker we can just leave there. We're going to skip over it, come over to this next side, same thing, just work underneath kind of that, it's that first row, so it's just underneath on the bottom side of the chain. Now let's work 9 up the other side. There was 1, 2, 3, 6, and 7, and 8. And that will be totally fine because kind of that first one that we made counts as the number 1 or the 9th. Now we don't need to join or anything. Just continue around. Find that first stitch, find the front bottom loop, and continue around. Now here's the clever little thing that happens when you start making this thumb. The only thing that we need to do in order to kind of get it smaller as we go and to curve upwards is to skip one at the bottom here. So we kind of decide which one is at the bottom, is in the center. I think it'll be that one. So I'm going to work one, I'll skip this one and go over here. So we'll be decreasing by 1 stitch in each round at the bottom of the thumb. You'll see how that magically works out. This yarn is just so fluffy and soft. It still has wool in it, but it has a little bit of acrylic. So here I am, just still going around. I'm coming in for another round here. Find the one at the bottom. So I'll go one more here. I'm skipping a stitch, coming over here. I know it's probably hard to see those bottom front loops, but that's what I'm doing, because what's happening is then the knit look is still going on around the outside. So I usually would stop, keep trying it on, see how many rounds I need to do. I believe I do about 6 or 7 rounds. We'll see here. I think I'm just finishing up round 4. So keep going round and round, skipping that one at the bottom. Okay, so here's about where I stop. I test these out and I'm like, yep, my thumb will be covered. So that was about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rounds, almost starting the 6th. So all you do is take your tapestry needle, cut that off. Probably didn't need that long of a tail, but now I'll sew it shut. And squeeze, and gather it together just like we did at the top of the mitten. Here we go. There you go. You've got your little thumb. So you'll weave in that end. You're going to want to use this end here to kind of weave in and cover up that hole. And like I say, down here, you'll weave in, take out your stitch marker, finish sewing that up the rest of the way, cover that hole, and then bring it on down. And you've got yourself a little mitten. So there you go. Super, super easy. Okay, watch the next. I'll do a different video if you don't know how to make the twist headband and you're interested in that. I've done this one quite a bit, but I will make a specific video just for this. So anyway, good luck on your mittens. I hope they turn out. You can always, like I was saying, this one kind of turned out a much wider thumb. In order to, if you really wanted it, it looks like I kind of went big on that. But this thumb area is tighter, so it was up to you. Just make this not as many stitches. You know how I went down 8? Maybe just go down 7. Make it smaller. But overall, when you get them all sewn together and matched up, just whatever you do, make them the same. the kids don't care. Most people love the little handmade, simple mitten. So anyway, all right, you guys, we'll see you next time. Bye.